Hello everybody, my name is Dmitriy Aristov. I'm an estate planning attorney in Los Angeles, California. And today I wanted to talk about a common question or a common topic of conversation that I have with friends and family members and my associates and colleagues. And that's, how do I talk to my parents about my inheritance? Or how do I talk to my parents about their estate plan? Okay? And I wanted to create this video in order for you to understand that this is a conversation that you can have. And I've come up with a sort of a guide on how to carry this conversation. So I get this question a lot, and the reason why is because a lot of people have this false hope that everything will just kind of work itself out. That is not the case. And a lot of friends and family members, they don't even know where to begin this conversation with their loved ones. So generally they're at a loss, and then they just wait a week, or they wait a month, or they wait a year, and they put it on the back burner. This is not a great idea, especially if you suspect or you know that they don't have really anything written down. So this is kind of like a guide that I came up with. So feel free to follow it, feel free to adjust it, but I think this would help you at least to get this conversation started with either your parents or grandparents or your loved ones or whoever it may be. So number one is that you need to set a separate meeting. This is a separate conversation. It might trigger them or alert them saying like, hey, what's wrong? But set up a separate meeting. You really don't want any distractions when you talk about this stuff. But also, order some takeout, bring some food, make it casual. It's not going to be like, hey, something is wrong, we got to talk. This is more like, hey, why don't we talk on Saturday? I'll come over for lunch. So how you start this conversation once you do sit down is that you need to talk about how US is very formal with their contracts and expectations. And this is mortgages, credit cards, liens, debts owed, any contract you sign, even a receipt when you check out. So if you come to an agreement, then you're at a good place to start talking about this. And you can also come to an agreement in your continuing conversation that documents are needed everywhere in the United States. This is specifically true in California. This is true all over the United States. And this is especially important, I want to just make a note, to non-English speaking communities and immigrant communities, because there's a lot of handshake contracts and trust-based agreements that come over from other countries to the United States. And this is just not how the United States works. You need documents and proof everywhere, okay? And then you then carry over this conversation into asking them about their health and how they're doing, and ask them to give you an honest answer. Because a lot of times parents, they care too much about their kids, they just don't want them to worry about you, but really ask them about it and ask them like, how are you doing? Is everything okay? And it's great if they do, but you might be surprised with an answer if you have a formal setting where you ask a question like this. So after you ask them about how their health and how they're doing, ask them the next question, which is, have they thought about who would make healthcare decisions if something happens to them, in the sense of if they get injured, or if there is an accident or a car accident or something like that, or if they get sick. So ask them if they thought about whether there is somebody that could make healthcare decisions for them. And whether they did or not, ask them if they have anything written down. And if they do, ask them, where is it? Meaning you want to be able to see these documents to make sure that they're somewhere, or at least know that they're somewhere. Otherwise, there's a potential issue with you searching for these documents, right? And if they don't have anything, if they give you a negative answer, then talk to them about how it's important in the United States specifically to draft documents like this and put them down on paper, okay? And with that same spirit, continue on the conversation about, have they thought about what would happen to their financial matters, like credit card payments, mortgage payments, access to bank accounts, if they get hospitalized or if they get injured. So we're not talking about death, we're just talking about hospitalization, injury, car accidents, etc. And if they thought about it, maybe they have something written down. Ask them, do they have something written down somewhere? And if they say we do, ask them, where is it? Meaning, is it easy to locate where that is? And if they don't, then talk to them about the same thing. Talk about to them about how it's important to have these documents written down, okay? And then transition that conversation into, well, have they thought about what would happen if they stay in the hospital? Or what if their condition worsens? Or then if they pass away? And if the answer is yes, we've thought about it, but we haven't done anything, then again, emphasize the importance of having something written down and being formal. Or if they say that we do have something written down, then ask them, where is it? And can I see it? Meaning, I want to be able to have access to these documents in order to be able to be ready if something like this does happen, okay? And if they don't have anything, if they don't have any of the above, you should really recommend to them that this stuff needs to be properly drafted, meaning these documents, these types of documents in the United States are so important to have drafted and formalized. And if they do have these documents, recommend that they get them looked over because maybe they're outdated, maybe they need to make a change. A lot of these pointers will trigger different avenues of conversation for you. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but it's important that you start mentioning these matters to them and that you recommend that these documents get looked at or drafted in the first place if they don't have anything. And finally, recommend to set up a meeting with them or for them with an estate planning attorney. So I am an estate planning attorney. I don't charge for initial consultation. I love to talk to people and try to identify how I can help them with their matters. So a lot of people are afraid of attorneys. They're afraid to turn to help in order to make this, to take this step. But if you talk to them about it, then maybe they're going to be less reluctant to take this step forward if you're with them or if you make the appointment for them. All in all, I hope that this was helpful to you. And obviously your conversation is going to go very different than somebody else's. But this is just my way of helping out somebody who's not an attorney in getting this conversation started and the juices flowing about these matters because they're so important in the United States. And again, contact me if you have any questions and I'd be happy to set up an appointment with you. Take care.